Hi, my name is Andrew McLaren. Today we're going to talk about how you can find a teaching job in the United States. I've already got another video about how you ace the interview, but this is more about how you get to that interview or how you can find jobs to apply for. So, just a couple things. I'm going to do a video in a couple different sections. The first one will talk about how most interviews happen, and then the main hiring seasons, how I like to go about finding districts and job pages, as well as larger platforms that can make this a little bit easier, but they don't have access to all schools. So I'll talk a little bit about Edjoin and LinkedIn, as well as some job fairs. And the last piece of the video we'll talk about is how you can sub your way into a teaching job. So you can get into a teaching position by being a substitute teacher. So yeah, let's get to it. So I'd like to briefly mention that most interviews can happen online now. If you're within an hour, or definitely if you're within half an hour of school, they'll probably expect you to go in person, especially if you will be teaching in person. But if you are doing an interview online, then be prepared to show how you can teach while you're on like Zoom calls or Google Meets or whatever. So be prepared to be able to use that platform to like do like questions and maybe a breakout room or something like that. Um, it just helps them know that you can kind of work like that asynchronous. That's also a good skill for all teachers to be able to demonstrate. Now that we're getting rid of like snow days and other breaks that we'll just be teaching asynchronous, um, it's good to be able to show some of these tech skills. And I think that if you are local, then they're probably just going to have you do this in person. So you don't have to worry about that if you are local. But if you're remote, I wouldn't do an interview via a phone call. I would do it via Zoom and use this as an opportunity to show what you can do. Okay. So when we're looking for teaching jobs, there's three main hiring seasons that are traditionally talked about. There's spring break, end of the school year, and then summer and start of the school year. And basically the spring break is when they're just looking at the all the new people who are graduating from all these programs. There's highly qualified people that want to move. And so this is a pretty hard time to actually get a job because they hire like the best of the best or the most qualified people during that. And so they all get like their first picks. And then for a little bit of time, they now know, okay, well, we're hiring these people. There's also these other people that are retiring. That's kind of why that happens around spring break, is that they find out who's going to be moved voluntarily as well as involuntarily. And so once they've figured out who's going to be moving voluntarily and they've assigned involuntary transfers and they've hired the people from the spring break round, then they'll be able to kind of look more at their staffing and know what they still need to take care of. So they'll usually have another round around the end of the school year. And this is also when staff meetings happen. Sometimes people don't like what position they've been put in. There's sometimes some retirements at this point in the year for a couple different reasons. Um, and it's kind of interesting. There's a good amount of things that open up in that window. So that's where I've actually gotten hired almost always. The spring break is a really hard round. I don't think I've gotten hired from a spring break interview yet, but end of the school year has been pretty reliable for me with that. I think I've gotten hired 3 times during that kind of that season. So keep in mind that these interviews will also be with different groups depending on the different time of year. Spring break, if it's during spring break, it's probably just admin, but if it's around that time of year, there'll be teachers that you'll be working with most likely involved in the interview. If it's the end of the school year, if it's like at the summer, like actual beginning of summer, it'll just be with admin. You might get your department head. Usually teachers are very busy during this time, so it's very hard for them to get many teachers. So it might just be your partner teacher that for that subject or that grade level, the people that you'll work with most directly, right? They don't have to be there. It is voluntarily done, but a lot of people choose to be there because they want to kind of pick who they're working with, right? And then the start of the school year, this is when the schools are like absolutely desperate and they'll hire anyone, basically anyone. They're not very picky. They have requirements to have licensed people in the classroom. So if they can get someone, even if they don't think they're the best, but if they can get someone that's licensed, that takes care of their legal requirements, so they'll go for that. So I've seen a lot of people get jobs here that maybe they're doing something they're not fully licensed for. They're only licensed for about half the classes they're teaching, and they might be working on getting their license for the other ones. This is also the time where they might hire people that aren't fully certified, or they'll pay for people to go through the certification process. So I had some friends who, like, math is like impossible to find math teachers. So I had some people who were in my education program who were able to get jobs during the school year. I believe they got hired kind of the start of the school year, is definitely before December. So just keep that in mind that especially if you're science or math and you're in an area that's more rural, then you're very likely to have these jobs pop up reliably during that time of year. But that's really the time where it's like chaos and they just need someone. Okay. So I'm going to start with public schools because I believe that they're just better places to work. So I'm going to just start with that. I will go over how you can get some jobs at some private schools. In general, um, it's kind of harder to find the private schools. The public schools, though, it's not like you can just Google like public schools near me and then go to their job pages. What I would highly recommend is looking for districts because most of the jobs are posted on these district websites, not like school website. So if you are in like Portland Public Schools, you want to go to that district website and not like Roseway Heights or like Tubman or something like that. Those schools won't have jobs on them. It'll be the district that's hiring people. So you need to go to the district website. So what I would do is if you're trying to look at like school districts, uh, just look at like a map of all of them, and you can actually get like a list of them, and there's a couple of states that will just kind of list them out for you. But you can also see Washington school districts and get like some maps or some images of them. And what I would do is I would look at what's nearby me. And so I'm kind of like, um, this is a good one. I know that, well, that's gonna be counties, it looks like. But you can get like the some map for here, and then you can be like, okay, well, what what school districts am I actually nearby? And for here I can see like, okay, let's say like I'm in Battleground. So I can see like, oh, there's Washougal right here, and there's Evergreen and Vancouver and Camas and Ridgefield and I think the center. So there's all these ones that you can kind of see on these maps, and then what you need to do is make some bookmarks. So like I've made a little bookmark list of districts that were nearby me, and I've bookmarked like their job page. So if you were to like Google like Battleground School District jobs, then you'll get a page from the school district, and make sure it's the right like state. This is Battleground Washington, because a lot of school districts have the same name. Like there's like 5 different Springfields, so just keep that in mind, right? So Battleground, it looks like these are jobs in Battleground, so you can go there, and they'll have some information. They'll have it probably worth looking at what they have also about like the pay scale and everything. But you can see the certified and classified. So certified teacher, classified, that might be like a lunch lady or custodian or one of the educational assistants. So you want to check out certified, and then like this, they're using a certain platform. Forgot what this platform is, but this will show all their jobs, and you can view and apply to certain positions. It looks like, yeah, this is something. A lot of them will use like the same platform. So if you log in with one, then you can log in and transfer that information from one school district to another. Um, and yeah, so this is kind of not super user friendly, but they do have ways for you to search for by location and category. And so most districts will have some sort of job posting thing on their school district website. And so you can see that I've got that like for Camas. I've got their jobs bookmarked, that page just straight there. And I would just check this during those main hiring seasons. I mean, you can check outside of those main hiring seasons, but I would definitely recommend looking at those during that time when they really need jobs because they start opening up a ton of them, right? So you can just kind of know what are the ones that you're interested in that are nearby and just kind of check as the jobs become available. There's also ways to sign up for like job alerts. So you can say like, hey, email me when there's a job um, that becomes available, right? So there's a ton of different ways to keep informed about what the local districts are, and then bookmark those job pages and just check them whenever you can during those hiring seasons. And just make sure it's like within your driving distance. Like some people are willing to drive a lot longer than others, so you want to like do a little Google Maps research to find out, is this where I think it is? And then some schools might be on the far side of the district, so you need to actually look at the job posting and find what building it's in, and it might be too far for you, so just keep that in mind as well. um, yeah, sign up for those email notifications. That I've had a couple jobs come up where I'm like, oh, I'm actually interested in that. So that is one of the situations where I do sign up to get my email up. If instead of going on to all these different school district websites, you want to just find one place to search, you can do that with the public schools, but most of them that I've seen have been on Edjoin. There are more going on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn's kind of the place to go for the private schools. There's a lot of them on like these job hiring websites. The private schools really have done quite a bit of work to get on those platforms. Public schools, they're not quite there, but they are starting to get more and more on those spaces. So like Edjoin, this is something where a lot of school districts, they post their jobs and you can search for the that organization in there and see all the jobs that they've got posted in there. Like you can see when they were posted. Probably don't want to go up for one of the ones that's been posted for a very, very long time. Like some of these have been there for a long time, right? So it's like, maybe you don't want to go for that job. But what you can do is you can do an advanced search and you can say, hey, I want to find a job that has science in its title. I want to be in like California. And then these are like, I think it's the counties basically. And say, let's say maybe you want to be in Alameda County and you want to see what jobs are related to science that fall in that area. So you can see I've got like Oakland, quite a few Oakland jobs there. Uh, and there's quite a lot of jobs in the Alameda area that have science in it right now. And you can like fine tune that a little bit. Like I've got Piedmont and Oakland and Fremont, Berkeley, all these places are in Hayward. They all have some job openings that are like science, right? So you can do a lot with the advanced search. It's just like LinkedIn, um, but it's a platform that you see this .org. A lot of school districts, public school districts are on there. There are, I think, some private schools on here as well, from what I've seen, and some charter schools, and like yeah, there's like an academy and some other stuff. So this has got a little mix of different organizations on there. So there's of course Edjoin, and then there's LinkedIn. You can search on LinkedIn as well. Let's just give me a second. So you can get on LinkedIn and you can search for jobs and you can be like, I want to look for a science teacher job. But you can also say within a certain area. So if you want to be like in like the Portland area, you can say Portland or like the metropolitan area. So that's like a slightly larger area. And they'll show you all these teaching jobs, but be very careful. Most teaching jobs on LinkedIn are tutoring jobs. They're not like certified. They're not paid well. Varsity tutors, they pay like I think it's like 15 an hour or like even less, I think. This is not a teaching job. So just be careful about that. You're gonna have to kind of filter some of these and look for them. And so there's a couple of remote jobs, but just be aware that this is kind of flooded with like not actual licensed jobs. But you can say like, hey, I want to have uh, like a filter so that if it has pay, you can filter by pay. Unfortunately for teachers, experience level isn't like years of experience or anything, so it doesn't really work for us. But you can say like, oh, well, I want to have it be an actual teacher position. But I bet you there's some stuff that aren't actual teacher positions that are gonna fall under that. So we could just do that. Yeah, see, these are not teacher jobs. These are paid hourly, and they don't even put the rate on there because they don't want you to know what they're paying hourly. So just kind of keep that in mind. You can then say, oh, I want anything that's like more than 60K. Um, and then there's some more specific things that are gonna come up. But see, for this says it's full time. Says it's a physics certified job. I'm not sure if I believe that. Um, Honestly, I'm not sure why that came up with the pay thing. Yeah, it's like they've really flooded this search. So yeah, I don't know. Let me just double check. I don't want to say that this isn't a paid position if it is. So just give me a second. Okay, yeah, I don't think that those were actually paid positions like hourly or salary. They were more of an hourly thing. You can see that there is some. I did do the filter, so it's 80K, so it's a slightly higher requirement. And here there's some actual different companies that are showing up beyond that one, and so you can kind of see um, some more information about those teaching jobs. But again, this is in the Portland area, so it's kind of limited as well by that. I think that Edjoin is more reliable for those teaching jobs personally. That's what I've experienced. But there are some other companies that might hire you, but these aren't school districts. So just kind of keep them in mind that you might be able to get some job, but it's probably not with a school district if you're going through LinkedIn. Um, though the school districts are on here. Like I believe we could look up like PPS. I believe they have a LinkedIn profile, Portland Public Schools. Um, I know they do because I get their stuff. Yeah, so they do have their thing like Portland Public Schools has an account, so you can kind of go on their account and they do a couple posts and they like to treat it as like a social media kind of thing is what I've seen. I've seen a couple different posts from them kind of highlighting people and things that they're doing within the organization. Um, there are some jobs here. So you can kind of see that there are some things that you can search for on here. Um, but if you were to actually go onto like the PPS website, they've I believe got some more on there. Um, yeah, if you were to like look at employment opportunities at Portland Public Schools, jobs, new applicants, I bet you there's more than what they've got on LinkedIn. View all jobs. Yeah, you can see this is not LinkedIn, right? They're not posting all these things on LinkedIn. Um, all these locations, departments, 220 jobs found. So why are we not seeing them? It is it's been a while since I've looked at this. So yeah, I don't know. I just went into a job and then out and now it's showing me a lot more jobs. So you can see like all of these things. These are positions that Portland's trying to currently fill. It's not currently all on LinkedIn. So don't think that LinkedIn is the place to go for a lot of the school district and their jobs. They're just not really posting them there. Um, I'm not sure why, to be honest, but that's kind of what's going on with them. So the other major platform that you want to consider are job fairs. Most states have this. Many cities will also hold them. Like I think that Oregon has its own education fair. That I've gone to this. This is pretty cool. Not only do school districts from all around the state go, there's like asynchronous learning companies that were there. This was like 2015 or something, and there was like some people from Alaska trying to recruit people to move up there. It's a pretty cool thing. You should definitely check it out. And then they've got like some information that you can get all about the event, but all the states that I've kind of talk to people who also work there, have some sort of job fair or convention where all of them come together and they're trying to hire people. And this happens usually in that like spring break window, and they're trying to find the best of the best. So they go there and they have their little competition trying to get you, giving you like pens and I don't know, like lapels and stuff. But it is a good opportunity to kind of see what's out there and hear why certain districts might be better than other districts, so you can kind of get some comparison. So I would definitely recommend it, especially if you're a new teacher going to some of those job fairs. It is good to check out for everyone though. Okay. So there's another thing to consider if you can't get a job other ways and you're like, well, the school started, what do I do? Subbing can help you get your foot in the door, as people say. You can introduce yourself to people in the building, do some work, show them what you can do, show them your behavior management, all that stuff. So if you become what we call a long-term sub, it's kind of like those day-to-day sub jobs, but it's usually something that you apply for separately. So you can look at like on here, they have jobs for substitutes. These are just going to be the day-to-day substitute jobs. But you can get what people call like a long-term sub job, oftentimes in here, and it might be like labeled something like that. But this is like a certified position, but it might be that somebody's on maternity leave or they're really sick. And so they like mid-year need to find someone to replace that person. So they'll either do a temporary hire or a long-term sub. They're very similar things. In either case, they're going to not necessarily hire you next year. And so what you're doing is just kind of trying to impress them so that when they need a new person next year, if that is the case, then you've got an opportunity to work for them or that have them know who you are. Because that always helps, and also helps to know the building and the procedures, because then you can talk about those procedures during your interview, which they always like to hear, that you kind of know what you're going into. Um, yeah, definitely worth your time to do that if you're trying to get a job in that district or that building. I wouldn't sub and continue subbing at a building that you don't like though. Um, and there's plenty of people who choose to do subbing, and that's totally fine. But if you're trying to use this to get jobs, you don't want to just take any subbing. Just find out if you like the place and then move on if you don't. Um, yeah, I think that's the main thing. There's one other pretty important piece here I'm gonna throw in as a bonus because you stayed to the end. Um, Most of the time, they'll have some sort of page where you can look up like job descriptions as well as the contract. So if there's a union negotiated contract and a pay schedule, you're going to want to check that and compare that out between the schools, because you want to know, first of all, what you're getting paid. That's very important. But also there's some districts that do some really kind of not okay things, like they don't offer health insurance. So they might give you better pay, but like there's no health insurance. So that's like really important to know, right? So you got to kind of read through at least the salary schedule. I myself have never read through like the whole contract, like 100-page document, um, unless I'm actually working there, because you're legally required to read it. So just keep in mind that you can kind of get a good idea about what you're going into work environment wise by looking at least at the salary schedule and what they're doing for benefits. That's pretty important. You're gonna want to know that setup. Um, yeah, that's it, I think. Thank you for checking this out. Yeah. Thank you for McLearning with me. I've got a few more offers that I'd like to let you know about, and remember, like and subscribe. For each video on YouTube, I am making an interactive version using HP5. These will be for sale on Podia, and if you click on the link in the video, you should be able to go directly to that product. I also have 2 demos I'm going to be linking so you can kind of see what these products look like. So I would recommend checking out those demos. I also offer one-on-one remote tutoring through Wyzant. Please use the links that I have linked below. That way I can get 100% of the hourly rate as opposed to 75. Each video also has a link for my Patreon, and you can join at the $3 level to get some resources I use for tutoring or to support the channel. And I also have a $5 raffle level, which you could either get some free online tutoring or 5 interactive lessons for free. You choose which ones. And then I also have my Teachers Pay Teachers, which has some old lessons that I made from when I used to be a teacher. I may be adding to that. Thank you for spending your time with me. I hope that you learned something.